We have just started 2023 and already we have two of the greatest games ever made. Remade in all of their glory, the original games redefined what horror games are. Redefining what Resident Evil is. And Dead Space. Dead Space was a perfect follow-on from System Shock 2, and I know, although Dead Space wasn't technically a sequel to System Shock 2, it was definitely a big influence. And even though I already stated in my review of Resident Evil 4 that game being the greatest remake ever made, and I 100% stand by that for all of the nostalgic reasons that come with it. I originally played it on the GameCube in 2005, and I have played loads of different versions of that same game since then. So for nostalgic reasons, and just because it's Resident Evil, I will favour Resident Evil, and I will stand by that. But the Dead Space remake, though, it hits different, and both games are an absolute masterpiece in their own way. But the Dead Space remake has definitely revived a dead franchise that got lost in space. Now, Resident Evil 4 changed the way we play horror games, taking it from survival horror to action horror, and then there is Dead Space that took all of that, ran with it, and just completely modernised horror action, throwing it all into space that still, to this day, does an absolutely phenomenal job, whether you are playing the original Dead Space or the remake. Dead Space originally released in 2008, and in 2023 we have Dead Space the remake. In this game you play as Isaac Clarke, and you are on board a haunting, chilling space station where all of the crew have been dismembered and slaughtered, called the Ishimura. And Isaac's girlfriend, Nicole, is lost somewhere on board this big mining space station. The remake brings just jaw-dropping atmosphere with absolutely phenomenal work of shadows and lighting in this game with amazing visual fidelity. It does an amazing job at making you feel isolated and alone on board a massive space station with a creepy, eerie atmosphere as you are being hunted and stalked by a bunch of aliens called necromorphs. As for most of the game, you are kept in the darkness, with dark corners and hallways, with chilling lighting effects, and you never know what's going to be lurking in those dark areas. The original Dead Space had its issues, and thankfully the remake fixes all of those issues and changes everything for the better. It isn't just a remake keeping everything identical to the original. It expands on everything, reworks everything, rebuilds everything with everything from the original, all of those iconic moments from the original still intact, but with much better improvements to gameplay throughout. That makes the original, honestly, look like child's play compared to the remake. Just the heavy use of fog makes all of the encounters more intense. Being able to hear the creatures but not being able to see where they are or where that noise is coming from because of the heavy use of fog. Sometimes you can hear creatures in the vents above, so you know they're near, but you don't know where they're going to come from because of the fog and all of the dark areas. And the way the fog and the lighting effects changes around you depending on what's happening is just incredible. An experience you need to witness that truly does show off what next-gen gaming is capable of, with new areas to explore that's been expanded on from the original. With zero-gravity environments you can now fully explore and not just bounce from surface to surface. You can fully explore these areas freely. Isaac Clarke is who you play as in this game, and his suits as well. The detail on Isaac's suits, it makes it look like the original design suits are from Wish.com compared to the detail and massive improvements to the suits in the remake. Oh, and the characters as well. The characters have new looks. Questionable? Sure. But I'm okay with that. And you'll be taking down loads of different necromorphs in this game, from big, small, gigantic, tiny, each doing different types of damage to you, and some will be able to fire acid at you as well, so you need to dodge acid attacks. They'll all swarm at you with just overwhelming waves of enemies coming at you. Think carefully what weapons to use. Preserve your ammo, preserve your health to fire certain projectiles back at enemies using your status. And you'll be using a variety of different weapons to cut, chop, slice, barbecue as you dismember the limbs of your enemies, seeing their flesh peel off their bodies layer by layer, exposing their muscles and right down to the bone, with much better effective melee attacks as well, with extremely satisfying weapons to use. There's 7 weapons in total, from the plasma cutter, pulse rifle, ripper, flamethrower, contact beam, line gun and force gun. The weapons in Dead Space are also no longer restricted to the store. You can find them around the ship as you explore. No longer will you be spending all of your credits to buy one weapon. You will find them in game. And there is different alternative fires to these weapons as well. You can upgrade your suit and weapons with nodes, with a ton of new schematics that you can find around the ship, as well as you loot crates, boxes and more. And the upgrade system is much better than the original. It's much more convenient in this. You'll be unlocking things and upgrading things a lot faster. You also have a bunch of abilities you can unlock as you go, from status effects, slowing down enemies, to moving objects and obstacles out of your way using kinesis, or to progress by using kinesis to pick up a big battery to turn the power back on to progress through a locked door, to launch an explosive at your enemies and just watching them burn, to throwing a status tank at an enemy to slow down a whole bunch of enemies around you, and then choosing what you want to do next. While they are stuck in slow-mo for a short period of time, do you want to run for the exit? Or do you want to go head on and attack them while they are in status, dismembering their limbs bit by bit in slow motion? And there is just some huge colossal moments in this game with a variety of necromorphs to go up against. You'll have an inventory in this game with a whole bunch of ammo and health that will need to be used sparingly, because at times you will be overwhelmed. You will use up all of your ammo quite quickly, as well as your health and your status. So you will need to keep check on this and use things sparingly, or you'll be rummaging around desperately trying to find health and ammo around you, because there is countless times you will be outnumbered, and at times you will need to drop things in your inventory to make room for stuff that matters, the stuff that you need there and then. But you can increase your inventory space by leveling up your suits with suit level upgrades. There's also a store where you'll be able to purchase a bunch of stuff, from weapons, ammo, health, status and more, using the credits that you find as you explore the ship. And this is also where you'll purchase your suit upgrades. Isaac Clarke is much more flushed out in this game. He isn't just a silent protagonist like in the original game. He actually talks, he has dialogue, and it isn't hand-holding. It isn't the point where he never shuts up. It's intelligent dialogue, and depending on Isaac's situation will depend on how he delivers certain dialogue in that scene. For example, this will all depend on your health state at the time, how his lines will be delivered. And he'll randomly react to stuff around the space station as well. Now, a lot of the elements in the remake is exactly what we had with Dead Space 2 and 3, with Isaac being fully voiced and freely being able to explore in zero-gravity areas. No longer are chapters sectioned off, with the tram serving as the start and end point of a chapter to move on to the next. It's just all connected seamlessly now. Power nodes as well. In the original, you always had to keep a power node on you to get through locked doors, to access locked areas, because you never know what's going to be lurking in that room. You never know what secrets or loot or collectibles are going to be in that room. Now, thankfully, you don't always need to carry a power node on you. Yes, you do for the upgrade bench, but not for these locked doors. To unlock certain doors, it's now clearance levels, with text logs to collect as you venture through the ship, with choices being added to the game as well, from choosing to turn off this switch or that switch to progress, with a clever use of circuit breakers choosing to turn this on to sacrifice this, which could leave you in complete darkness, only being able to see using the torch attached to your gun, with necromorphs coming at you from the darkness outside of your field of view. And the death animations in Dead Space has always been phenomenal, but in this game, it is just phenomenal. The Dead Space remake is on another level of detail. Visuals, sound, design, combat, immersion, and just improving everything that was already perfect about the original, with its newly enhanced story and phenomenally redone action. I'm not one for remasters, I'm not one for remakes. I do enjoy them, yes, but it always does make me wary. But when it's a really, really good remake that's done right, like Resident Evil 4, like the Dead Space remake, I am all about it, and I absolutely love it.